Good morning and welcome, Freedomizers. This is Theatra with Freedom Reigns. Every other Thursday, our guest is a man who is near and dear to my heart and mind, as well as to our listeners, Wil Spencer, our Freedom Reigns resident naturopath, a vital member of our team. However, we live in very interesting times in a strait of great flux. Wil has agreed to step down for the first hour so we can get updates from Drake and Teri, two members of our team who have presented very important programs for our listeners. Last Thursday, Drake gave us an outline of changes that would take place. And Sunday's show was dedicated to our active and retired military. We desperately need to diffuse tensions between our uninformed public servants and the public. Some changes will involve civilian federal marshals backed up by contingents of our military, placing a number of people in high places under arrest. This is not a military coup. For the sake of our new listeners, several months ago, several members of the Freedom Reigns team were approached to put some paperwork together to put certain people on notice, and we did this. Since then, a number of world events has transpired. Certain members of our government have been given notice. Other segments are very busy, making arrangements to do what their oath of office requires of them. And this is part of a worldwide effort. The European banking cartel is coming unglued. Banking officials all over the world are stepping down. Many are under house arrest. What the public is seeing is calm before the storm. Not all storms are bad. We're looking at constructive tax reform and a currency change. We're looking at major realignment in our military and, in fact, on every level of our government. This massive task will involve many people and be very fluid in nature. The central theme of all of this is putting our financial and political system back on solid ground with minimal suffering on the part of innocents. This will require the skills and efforts of many. People in our government will be redirected away from taking money from everyone that can get it from to dealing with real criminals on our streets and inside the walls of private and public organizations. So with this in mind, we're going to hand this first half of the show over to Teri and Drake. I've asked my co-host Jim to watch the chat room so he can bring questions to our guests. You can go to Freedom Reigns, that's Freedom, R-E-I-G-N-S, to find more information about all of this. Also, please join us in our chat room at freedomizerradio.com. And feel free, please, to call in with comments or questions at 347-324-3704. That's 347-324-3704. And press 1, and I'll try to find you on the board. But before we do that, I must tell you, to all of you who have tuned in for our healing hero, Wil Spencer, you will not be disappointed. The second hour will be dedicated to general issues of malnutrition and mineral deficiency, and he really shines when he gets questions from the audience. So can you take a hint? Once again, the phone number is 347-324-3704, and press 1 so that you can get in line. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start with Teri. Teri, welcome.
Hello. Good afternoon out there. And, of course, people start trying to dial me. Ignore. It's a beautiful day in America. At least it sure is here in southern Georgia. And all of those out there who have come to know me, you know I don't shrink from calling a spade and saying exactly what I think, and I'll do that now. On last Sunday's show, our esteemed Drake shared information which has caused quite an uproar. That said, I will say I do not intend to refute what Drake said, as the basis of what he shared is true. However, he did speak on which founding document it is that actually outlines and declares for us what we're expected to do should we find ourselves in the predicament we find ourselves in today. Drake referred to the Constitution when he should have referred to the Declaration of Independence. Please forgive his faux pas in that regard. In actuality, the words which give us direction are those of Thomas Jefferson when he wrote in the Declaration of Independence, "When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bonds which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation." Drake also shared that those instructions have indeed been followed, and the necessary paperwork needed to declare to the world that we, the people, are free and independent people of the United States of America, and do not recognize, acquiesce, or accept the authority of criminal foreign corporations, such as the District of Columbia, the corporation which calls itself the federal government of the United States, not the United States of America, the Fed Reserve, the IRS, the UN, NATO, IMF, etc. This was done by individuals in the states. There is no organization, no leaders, no group, and it is most certainly not affiliated with fantasy patriot plots and self-appointed saviors like Tim Turner or any other. This is not some kind of thing you have to sign up for. It is a renewal of the legacy left to you by our founders and given you by God. It is nothing more than a very loud take this job and shove it and you're fired statement, which has gone out to the world, declaring us to be nothing more than what we are, free Americans. We do not need permission, recognition, or opinion to be who we are. Now it is not the time for us to go viral with the logistics, times, and specifics of a plan which has been going on for 20 years to restore our nation to us. We accomplished our goal much quicker than was anticipated. Many are making demands, like I demand to see proof, I demand to see documents, and so forth. I'm going to be straightforward and truthful to those people by saying, who in the hell do you think you are? Not a one of you out there is any more special than another. And if you were the type to stand up and get things done, you would have been asked, I imagine, to help those who are in charge. You can demand all you want, but demanding and getting are two different things. So you can poop in one hand and wish in the other, and we'll just see which one fills up first.
And Teri, we really cannot change what we've been told to do, so we can only release information we can release. We are not in control of a lot of this. Am I correct?
You're absolutely correct. And when I hear people whine, I don't see anything changing or happening, and when is this going to happen, and wah, I want to throw a brick at them. If you think there's some kind of white knight coming to save your butts, you're sadly mistaken. So stop making it about you, your problems, your house, your job, your kids, your world, and start looking beyond that stupid mind control machine. Change the channel. Turn it off. Look beyond your own front door, your street, your town, your state, your country. Look across the oceans. Read and listen to more internet alternate media. This is much bigger than you. This is about all of humanity. We are at war in this country and all around the globe. This is a fight where humanity itself is the spoils of war. If we lose, we're done as a civilization. If we win, we will reshape the world and how we behave. So prepare for a great change. Remain peaceful and calm. Help your neighbor if you can. Keep your eyes and ears fully open for more information as it becomes available. There are only two choices now: submit or fight back. But just remember, there's no liberty in submission. Grow some big breath, you-know-whats, America, and stand up and keep what your ancestors died to give you. And at that, I will turn it over to Drake.
Hi, Drake. Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if I can follow that or not. The simplistic thing that we've done as individual groups in individual states, is a notification process. That notification process brings back to life a thing called the Declaration of Independence, page 2, and all that Teri referred to. This is intricately a part of the Articles of Confederation, which is an agreement among the several states to act in unison on different things. The guidelines were stipulated in the Constitution because individuals decided that we needed to have even a higher authority than any of man's ideas. The little thing called Bill of Rights was written. These are all intricately related, different pieces of paper that people have a tendency to overlook in terms of their interrelationship. I did make the mistake of saying the Constitution says that we should get rid of a repressive government. That's the Declaration of Independence, page 2, Thomas Jefferson, as Teri said. I apologize for screwing anybody's mind up for a simplistic mistake. Sometimes when I get in the heat of talking, I make missteps just like anybody else. Now,
yeah, you don't have a teleprompter, do you, Drake?
No, I think somebody's got the corner on that market. Big Ears is in the White House, or was. Anyway.
It's so much more simple if we had somebody write everything out for us. Man, you know, people don't realize the hours and hours and hours of dedication that all of us have put into this, into bringing them the truth.
Well, there is no. I want everybody to be perfectly clear on this. There is no misconception as to the reality of what we're presenting. This is happening. Whether anybody likes it or not, agrees with it or not, it's going on.
Yeah, now, it's no longer an if, people. It's a when.
It's happening.
And
it's
how.
Exactly.
Anyway, I have had a couple of little informative news clips come to me, and I'll give what I can of those. Now, one of the things that everybody disagrees with is the fact that we do not give specific details, names, numbers, and all this happy stuff. Personally, I was shot at in Vietnam, and I have no inclination to revisit those fun and games. It is not fun to have somebody shoot at you. Therefore, or whatever they might want to figure out to do to you, just don't fit with my day. It would ruin it. So, consequently, I also look at that in relative fashion to the people who are involved in this at high levels. I am not going to, under any circumstance, cause those people any more problems than they've already got to deal with. They are plenty busy doing what they're doing. So, 2 points of good news. One is that the, quote, military, unquote, I know, blanket term, non-specific, is extraordinarily busy. Now, I hope they're busy doing what I would love to see happen right now. But I hope they're also busy taking care of business as well. And I hope them all the best. The other little piece of good news is that the talk that I gave addressing the troops apparently has been being spread among the troops. I just got word that foreign stations are now receiving that talk I gave in terms of a troop's standing and responsibility to uphold the Constitution as they are a part of our country and come under that control. The rest of it, that is, to me, is enough of a mind blower. I had no intention. I had no idea. I had the intention. I had no idea that I was going to be able to reach that far. I am overtly overjoyed. And I was jumping up and down a couple minutes ago outside, going Yahoo real loud. Now, I live in a place where it don't matter if you do that stuff. You can run around naked, nobody will notice because there ain't nobody there. I don't do that either. But the idea that something that I may have brought to light for everyone is spreading as far as it is gives me great confidence in the ability that the military has to recognize what is going on even more so. Now, these are common troops. It could be command level. It may be below. I'm going to suggest that it's the troops first. Command will hear about it as it comes out, where the individuals involved, to include command, understand the differential between lawful and unlawful orders, what they are and are not supposed to be doing, and what to do about situations as they arise. Now, one of the big things that's been going around is, I don't see nothing. Well, whoopity-doo. Imagine all of the people who have that objection or question. First of all, have you notified everybody in your county? Secondly, think about that on a state level. Now multiply by 50. And I'll tell you, you're going to be busier than a cat on the interstate trying to cover it up. There just ain't nothing quite like getting involved in something that's real, that's happening, and in my opinion, well, long overdue. But basically, that's the interesting portions of what I had to say today. There is other information, and as far as I'm concerned, questions are probably in order.
Well, nobody's got any questions as of yet that I have seen. I'd like to open up the lines for those who do have questions at this point. The call-in number is 347-324-3704. And please make sure to press 1 so that I know that you're wanting to speak. I'm going to also place that phone number in the chat room. Again, verbally, it is 347-324-3704. I haven't, at this point, seen any questions come up yet.
Okay, well, there's another little piece of good news I'm going to add to it then.
Oh, awesome.
I was a member a long time ago of a group called Oath Keepers. That organization deals with a combination of both military and civilian law enforcement. They have basically always operated under a constitutional mandate of making sure that whatever they do and whatever is done is a constitutional act. Now, Stuart Rhodes was on last night. He's going to be on again tonight. You can go to their website and find their contact information. What they were addressing was a combination of things. Those 2 executive orders, for one, and the impacts that they're looking at, preparations that can be made, what can be done on the local level to address them. Now, there's another little thing that they're starting, and I just am loving this to death. Outside each and every military base, as it is available, they're going to try to rent billboards. And those billboards are going to express to the troops, similarly, as I did, you're under the Constitution, and you need to be sure what you're doing before you do it. This is supposed to be a nationwide effort. Anybody on a call who can afford to chip in a little bit, I'm sure they would appreciate it to defray the cost of the rents of nationwide billboards. And I was personally elated to hear that they're doing this. So there's another little bit of icing on the cake.
I love it.
Oh, and these people, now, something you got to realize, Oath Keepers is not just a website with a bunch of people talking. They use a combination of legal eagles, and by that I mean people who have been established for years that can set legal policy. They use a load of legal and constitutional and international law scholars in order to formulate their plans and do what they do. So it's not just your average freedom-type website. Anybody who's not a member and can afford it, and it ain't much, I urge you to join. They could use the money, and the more people that listen to Freedom, the better. So,
well, I'm glad you were able to listen in. I have conference calls every night. Normally Thursday nights I don't, but now I do tonight, so I won't be able to listen then. I'm glad you were able to do that, Drake.
Wow.
I get around.
Will is on the line with us, and he has a couple of questions. Will, welcome.
Hello. Not more statements, just to help people, encourage people to do more work locally. I'm privy to several groups, one in particular in Idaho. Their goal is to get the awareness of what we're doing, or what the potential is of getting the civil authority to alter its awareness away from the de facto and back to the de jure type of thinking. And they actually have meetings once a week to educate everybody in the state. In Pennsylvania, they're doing the same thing, where so now the civilian authority, I guess, is that a proper way to say that, Drake?
Yeah, that works.
I mean, it's kind of hinging on the mass amount of people. When they become aware of truth, then you can make other choices that affect the whole. Because right now we're suffering basically because of lack of knowledge. And as soon as people start seeing what's going on for reality and truth, they can start to make different choices. And then by doing that, taking the power away from the present corporation.
Wow.
Take this job and shove it. We quit, and you're fired.
Basically. I mean, Deatra and Jim talk about their county programs or their local things. I mean, really, we are responsible for where we live, and that's really what we need to do. If you're not seeing any movement, then, by golly, the person in the mirror you're looking at really should be doing something about it.
Start one.
You got to look outside your own front door.
Start one.
Exactly. Hey, actually, we have two other callers, guys. We have Grammy J out of Texas, who I'm bringing up now.
Wonderful.
Hey, Grammy J, welcome.
Dear friends, all of you, I love you. And oh boy, I like how you're saying this today. Let's just put that right on the bullseye.
Amen.
Amen to that.
You are doing fantastic. Oh my God, every one of you. Yes. I'm listening. You guys talk. You're wonderful.
All right. Well,
guess what else is going on Oath Keepers?
Oh,
and this is a mind blower. Jim and Deatra started this county program. Guess what's going on Oath Keepers? They are also working with it. I would suggest the two of you guys get in touch with them.
Oh, definitely, Drake. If you'll work it in for us, we will definitely talk with them about it.
That might help them. I also offered them to come on the show anytime that they could make available in order to further talk a little about what they're doing and further some of the programs they've got in conjunction with our actions. And I've heard, like I say, I'm going to say this again, I want everybody to really think about this. Apparently, what I said, the recording, has gone to foreign countries where our troops are stationed. That means that this is going like wildfire through the troops. And this is the type of notification that they need so that they know how to justify their actions and act correctly. Which means that now, instead of having just a few who are sure, you can have a whole lot more. And that's all I was about in terms of my addressment of the troops. So,
well, you know what? You can't explain. I mean, you can't expect our young men and women who have been sent around the world to stand up for us and to fight for our country when they're really not. But you can't expect them to take all the responsibility if they don't see that those of us at home have their backs.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Guys, we also have Chris from Las Vegas, our law person. And Chris, there you are, trying to bring you up. Welcome.
Good morning, Deatra, Drake, Teri, and others out there listening to the Freedomizer Network.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm very troubled this morning, I have to confess. We've been suffering an egregious abuse of power of the corporate whore of Babylon posed as the Metropolitan Police here in Las Vegas for the past few days. They have forcibly taken hostage from a locked, secured premise of a private conveyance one of our elderly patriot state national citizens who was asserting his lawful constitutional rights. I believe they broke out the window in his vehicle, forcibly removed this 77-year-old frail man, Mr. Thomas J. Collins, who had been keeping his hands in a peaceful position on the steering wheel. They tore him from the vehicle. They maced this poor man who suffers from asthma, and they've absolutely taken him hostage, shanghaied him, and holding him for ransom in the city jail. The judge has become malfeasant, malicious. He obstructed justice. He wouldn't let me speak for him under the common law private attorney general's doctrine to try and defend him. They unilaterally appointed a private corporate associate of the judge to act as a public defender without the assent of the alleged suspect. They had him masked to look like Hannibal Lecter to make him appear as ominous and to obfuscate his ability to speak. He was manacled like an animal, and he's being held hostage in the Las Vegas jail. For a traffic violation, they responded with over 15 vehicles, 2 motorcycles, a helicopter with a high-intensity discharge searchlight, all for a purported traffic violation when he was not engaged in commerce. He was operating a private conveyance as a private individual, not a corporate entity, and he was seized by these masquerading imposters impersonating public servants with no production of oaths or affirmation of office as they requested. He lawfully requested. And it was outrageous. I was there. I saw it. I took pictures and photos. I've witnessed the happenings. I'm a former multi-jurisdictional law enforcement myself, and it was just an egregious abuse of power. And not only that, they had all these officers out there soaking up pay and overtime on a purported traffic stop of a 77-year-old man. It's crazy, insane.
Well, Chris, I'm not sure as you were going on, but this man also just recently had heart surgery.
Absolutely. Just about a year ago, he had open heart surgery. He suffers from asthma. He was having breathing problems that night, and they maced him on top of it.
Oh, my God.
Oh. Well, I think we need to gather. Go ahead, Teri.
I said they'll claim he was resisting arrest.
Oh, they'll claim that, of course. We're trying to get the reports, but until he signs a power of attorney to give us rights to get the information, they won't release it to us. I did email Stuart Rhodes this morning. I was at the foundational meeting of the Oath Keepers a couple of years ago, and we're hoping that Stuart may give us some assistance in this. These are all constitutional people that are involved in this. It may have been that he was followed from a place where he was notarizing documents relative to proclamations of non-corporate status and the like, and they may have done that to get his notarial book to find evidence as a pretense of the traffic stop to obtain evidence without getting a subpoena to do so and do a warrantless search as a scheme of legalese.
Chris, I know you said you got photographs. Did you get any kind of video? Or can you guys also request the FOIA for the police dash cam?
Well, absolutely. This will be part of the evidence. We know this is going to a federal suit in the Article 3 courts on probably a Title 18 241, 242, possibly a 1982 suit. This will be a very big case that will bring many of these problems of the criminal and corporate impersonators masquerading as public servants.
Name the judge. Name the judge.
Name the judge.
The judge's name is Burt Brown in the 6th floor of the Las Vegas Justice Center on the courtroom 4. That was yesterday, the day they're running together. The rest was on the 19th, and the hearing of the appearance was on the 21st.
Okay. Also, Chris, has anybody got any kind of video at all? If so, can we put it together and we'll get it up on YouTube and make this go viral? We will make this happen immediately.
Well, yeah. I regret. I was not able to get video. Well, I did get some forms of still pictures of it. Somebody else may have gotten some. There were multiple witnesses to the events, and my battery was not charged up when I headed out the door on the call for help from our local assembly in the efforts of the people to try to support each other against these terroristic acts by these incorporate government agents.
Okay, could you please, our listeners are saying that you broke up when you were giving the judge's name. Can you please give that name again and where he is out of?
The corporate public-private officer that's posing as a judge, who is probably really only a mere magistrate, a magic man, a state corporate created God ruling over men, is Burt Brown, B-E-R-T-B-R-O-W-N, in the Las Vegas Municipal Justice Court.
Okay. Would you be willing, Chris, you have my email address. Can you forward me the pictures and a solid story as to what has taken place? We're going to get this. We're going to start by getting this out in Facebook. One of my colleagues and very wonderful, loving person is going to help with this, with getting this out. Joanne Moretti. She's here in our chat room, and she's listening to the show right now, and she's willing to help. Somebody else in the chat room is asking again, please, to make sure that they can understand exactly where this has taken place, so that we can make sure that this judge's name gets out there. And if anybody, if you have names of the officers that were involved, we want to make them public to everybody as well.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't have the names of the officers yet, although I did try to get the reports and the affidavits yesterday. They obfuscated my attempts. Unless the prisoner allows us to contact him by his acquiescence, we can't go in to talk to him, to advise him of these things. They are obliterating any ability to communicate from the outside into the alleged perpetrator. He was doing nothing unlawful. These are only fictions of law that he were violating, and they have no true force or effect at law. This is in the Las Vegas Las Vegas Municipal Court System. He's being held at the Mojave and Stewart Las Vegas Muni Court incarceration facility. And we are doing all we can do. We're trying to form legal responses, lawful responses. We would like to get rid of habeas corpus to get the release. He did appoint a public defender who did as good a job as her corporate barred attorney position of the cabal of Rome would allow her to do. However, she was very intimidated by the judge. They called specifically a big honking strong marshal to intimidate me and threatened to arrest me and throw me out of the courtroom if I said another word. It was difficult to be quiet, but I was able to maintain quiet. One of my associates was able to notice the judge on the record of the court to his violation of his oath and affirmation, alleged, his public-private office. He noticed him on the law of the flag, of the military flag that was prominently displayed in this Church of Satan court. They absolutely obliterated any form of law because they're operating under this military pretense of law, and these are the true terrorists terrorizing Americans, not peaceful America-loving people terrorizing the government, other than by law.
Right. And let me confirm now. Our victim's name is Thomas J. Collins, right?
That is correct. That's spelling J-A-Y and C-O-L-L-I-N-S.
Okay, Thomas and then J-A-Y, Collins. Okay. All right. I'll get with Joanne following the show. If you would email me pictures and such, we'll get this up and make it viral. I know you sent a little bit out the other day, but we need to write this up and get this going. If you can get your hands on any kind, check with your witnesses, see if anybody's got any recordings, anything it takes. We want to get this out there, make the people aware. Now, you guys need to realize you may have to go through the bail process.
Well, that's a
get him out first.
They've set his bail at $1,000. That's not unaccomplishable for us. But realizing it's $1.5 million penalty for unlawful incarceration under the acts of justice in American law, it may be fiduciarily to his interest, but we're concerned about his health, and we're going to try to do what we can do to get him out very promptly. The public defender made a very strong case of his lack of criminal or violent history past, his long-term maintenance of abode here in Las Vegas, and tried to get the judge to allow him to OR himself without bond.
OR?
But naturally they moved to keep him locked up and hold him for the extortion fee.
OR? What's that mean?
Own recognizances.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess, in many ways, I understand the fines and what that the courts are facing and what, but given the situation and the health of this poor man, I would say the first goal would be to get him out, because if we get him out, then they have to give him the information. And, there is nothing that they cannot deny him that. He is the one that has to defend himself here.
I understand clearly, and that's what we're working on. We should be able to get that accomplished today. I did try to contact Stuart Rhodes of the Oath Keepers to get him to try to assist us in this matter. And, if I'd have been a barred attorney and had the barred card, they would have given me the information. But because I'm acting under a lawful congressional act of Congress under the private attorney general's statutes, just like Rod Class and other knowledgeable, competent people, Mr. Weston in Oklahoma, they discriminate against us, which is a crime in and of itself, and won't afford us the same privileges as they are supposed to be provided under the doctrines of private attorney general and the private attorney general's Compensation Act that was passed in 1975. Of course, the Judiciary Act of 1866 is where the doctrine of private attorney generals comes from, that gives any American the right to represent the public safety and interest in actions against criminal corporate agents of the government or corporations violating rights, human rights, entertaining cruel and unusual, inhumane punishment such as torturous, treacherous incarceration, shanghaiing, kidnapping, and hostage-taking of Americans.
Well, let's. Do you guys have the money to bail him out?
We've already had some other members here of the Patriot groups locally come forward with some monies, and I believe we will be able to extricate him and post his bailment or extortion fee today sometime.
Okay. Well, keep us posted on that. Joanne has a show later today. and we could call in to on Joanne's show, I am sure. And we'd be willing. I bet she'd be willing to help get this out via her program as well. Joanne, I know you're in the chat room and you're hearing, so give me a confirmation here to that and to what time you're on today.
This is a perfect example, everyone listening, that the people that we are at war with are extremely evil individuals, and they're not going to step down easy. They're wounded beasts in a corner, and they're going to do whatever they can because they're not going to be willing to give up. Just say, okay, we're busted, that's it, we stand down. That's not going to happen. So we are going to have some challenges like this, and we have to stand together and stand strong and insist on being who we are.
Exactly.
Important to note, you may have misspoke there, Teri. We're not at war with them. They have declared war on us. We're merely asserting a defensive posture and using the weapons of law to defend ourselves, acting within the law, not without the law as they're acting.
Absolutely. We didn't declare the war, they did.
Exactly. Joanne has just stated she is on at 3 o'clock this afternoon, your time, Chris.
I'll do what I can to get on Joanne Moretti's show with pleasure. I had some, it'll be perfect if I'm available. It's possible I might be otherwise obligated to try to appear for Mr. Collins and try and extricate him around that time. But if I'm available at all, I will try to make Joanne's show.
Okay, and if there's any possible way, can you photograph any injuries to Mr. Collins and try to get medical documentation? It's really, really important.
Well, absolutely. I have first-person knowledge of his surgery last year. I had spoken with someone who was with him 5 minutes before he was stopped. I believe he was followed from the place where he was leaving. And like I say, I believe it was a conspiracy to obtain evidence without a warrant by seizure of the person and the vehicle or the private conveyance to gain the intelligence through the scheme of doing the inventory of the seized vehicle pursuant to the arrest of the vehicle and the taking it into custody, claiming it to be a lawful action when it was absolutely unlawful, therefore outlaws and criminal and very felonious in nature. They chemically tortured him and Shanghai, this man, absolutely took him under violent force. Between 20 and 30 officers to take this one little bitty, frail, medically involved 77-year-old senior citizen into custody. It's a violation of the common sense and sanity. It's insane.
Yeah, well, the patients are running the asylum.
Yep, exactly. They really are. Chris.
Are we there?
I'm still here. I'm sorry. And hopefully Drake's still there, too. I didn't mean to take over this show. I don't want to do that.
Well, I'm glad you shared that. These are the things we need to know. We need to know how we're being singled out and attacked around the country. This man is one of ours.
Here's the main thing that I'm seeing, and that is that people have got to realize two things. And this applies to all the people who want to play the freedom game, whatever level and to whatever extent, and be active and go out of their way to try to rectify things. And that is that you're subject to, quote, law. Now, the problem with the idea of what law is administered is that at any particular point in time, they can change the rule of law to fit whatever agenda it might be, to include snatching little old men out of cars, absconding with your car. They will tell you that they can legally search your home without a warrant, and all kinds of great things that, to me, makes the little hairs on my neck stand up and make me want to just, lock and load and go visit somebody. Now, the problem is that I grit my teeth and know that my local sheriff ain't like that. He comes, talks to you. He figures out what's going on, and then he deals with the situation. If need be, he'll get parties together, and they'll discuss it or whatever it takes. Big difference. Now, he's going to get an Oath Keeper card here in the near future, and so is his deputies. But what I'm expressing is that do not let your emotionality or your anger or your heartfelt intentions grab hold of your better reasoning and cover it up. You want to take two things with you, a level head and a good head full of knowledge, and apply it correctly.
The
suggestion in such an instance as this, and a lot of these people make this mistake, they let these people get away with this stuff. I strongly advocate that they prefer charges against these people. I'm trying to watch my language and I'm having to bite my tongue. And the reason that they need to be adjudicated is so that they can feel what it's like. That they cannot just step on anybody they feel like they want to for whatever reason. Now, you got to remember something about law enforcement. They don't normally see us at our best. Usually they're seeing us at some kind of extraordinary emotional screw-up, and that can be induced by drugs, alcohol, or attitude. Doesn't matter. So, they got to watch what they're doing, and they have to make sure they maintain control. However, there's a difference between shooting somebody or beating somebody and 10 big dudes with badges jumping on somebody. I advocate that law enforcement start using their common sense in terms of actually showing that they have the judgment necessary to hold their office. If not, and they act out of control, such as in this case, irrespective as to the, quote, right to do so, everybody needs to take them to court. Everybody needs to stick a lawyer where the sun don't shine and see how they like it.
And I must say this.
Then you will find that law enforcement becomes the protect and serve instead of enforcement. Big difference. And you also might make a whole lot of friends in the process, but on all sides, including law enforcement. That's all I got to say.
And I must say this. May I please interject this? To people who are in uniforms or out of them uniforms, do not do in your hot moments what you would not do in your cool moments. Period.
Right.
Well said.
May I offer a little bit more?
Yeah, quickly. We got another caller in here, too.
All right. I will say, after we left that charade of a trial or appearance yesterday, we had two of them, the interpreter and that big honking marshal they called to especially threaten and intimidate me. Mr. T. O'Neill, Marshal T. O'Neill, came out to the hallway to apologize, and the interpreter wanted us to know he had nothing to do with it. He didn't want to be part of the action against them. And Mr. O'Neill come out and professed that he was a Ron Paul supporter and that he was really not in agreement with what they were doing in there, and really apologized as profusely as he could possibly do for what went on. And this is precisely an action that occurs from this air of threat of terrorism that's been propagated as a fabrication to create an air of fear amongst law enforcement and Americans by the Obama administration, Eric Holder, who has armed these felons, drug dealer cartels, and actors as cartel members coming across the border with weapons that him and his Operation Fast and Furious supplied to those narco-terrorist gangs and insurgent actors, Trojan horses, styled as narco-terrorists to come in here and assault Americans and perpetuate the fear of threats of terrorism and violence.
There's something that goes along with this, and it goes along with what I stated before, and this is a biggie. If there's any way possible, try to contact that officer who apologized and have him appear in court as an advocate for the defendant. You will be amazed at the different attitude of the court under those circumstances, if that's possible.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent suggestion.
Yes. Guys, we have a caller for Drake and Teri regarding what they were speaking earlier. We've got Howard. Howard, please keep your comments short so that we can get ready for Wil. He's up next here, and I'd like to be able to give him time. But, Howard, you're open. Go ahead with your question or your comment.
Yeah. Now we're called a free state. Would that change the notary public in the states as far as what's on their paperwork when they stamp?
No.
May I add something to Howard's question?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Well, I've just read a document from Rod Class, and he's a very informed legal mind or law mind. And his observation is the corporate licensed position of notary public is a dangerous weak link in the chain, which allows the purported public-private, which is really just one, it's actually a private corporation posing as a public entity, to pierce the veil of privacy through their corporate scheme of licensing the notaries. And it's important lawfully, 2 witnesses is stronger evidence to truth in a document, declaration of truth or affidavit, than a mere public notary official who is a licensee of the corporate state.
You have to understand what the notary handbook states on that, and the backing of what their legal standing in those cases are. Much of the legal standing that a notary holds goes back beyond a lot of the corporate nuances, edicts, unfunded mandates, and regulation. It goes well beyond those. Anybody that needs to know these things, I suggest you go to the Freedom School of Texas. They've got a load of information on there from legal experts that will express exactly how far this goes. It goes back to before the Declaration of Independence and operates through common law and the responsibilities that an affidavit to a signature entails. It's a little more complicated than just licensing. Now, the licensing is like a driver's license. It don't mean nothing, but it keeps the sheriff from playing games with you a whole lot generally, and it's easier that way. You can go to an unlicensed notary, so long as that notary attaches an affidavit as to the legal standing of his witnessing of the signature. A lot of people are not aware of that. These are some, as I've stated before, Teri said, we got a lot of changes to make. These are some of them.
That's www.freedom-school.com.
Yeah, I just put in Freedom School of Texas, and it comes right up. So, whichever.
All righty. Awesome. Well, thank you, Howard, for your call.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'd like to, actually, I've been conversing a little bit with Wil here in the chat room, and I'd like to let Chris go ahead and get more of that back, more of what's happening with Mr. Collins. This is something we need to drive at home, period. We need to make sure that all this information, everything gets out there.
10-4.
Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What can I answer for you? I apologize.
Anything you need to put out there for Mr. Collins, so that you guys know this. We go pretty far and wide, it seems. So we really need to get this out there, and we really need to also address more with what's gone on with the people that Drake is working with and that Teri is working with.
Here's a possible idea. If there are any of the officers, purported officers out there that were involved in this egregious violation of human rights and torture of this man, who feel compunction and concern about what they've done, if they would like to contact me, and I'll be glad to give them a phone number, or perhaps you can have them, they can contact your site and you can refer them to me. I'm a former multi-jurisdiction law enforcement officer myself, and including the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and the Nevada State Gaming Control Board Enforcement Division. So I know from where they came, and I know that they may have been misled and misguided and just following orders, although that wasn't a very good defense in the Nuremberg war trials. And this does, in fact, involve violations of the Geneva Convention and other international crimes against war violations, because these are acting as mercenaries, corporate hirelings, whether they know it or not. They're not acting as bona fide peace officers who have open affirmations to protect and serve. They become abuse and torture agents of the Israeli form of the Israelification by the militarized law enforcement agents here. But I would be glad to take their affidavits in truth, or their statements, if they want to maintain silence and not be noticed of what the facts actually happened there. We would be interested in having their statements and would try to protect their confidentiality at all costs for being honest, true public servants and keepers of the peace.
Right, and our website that we can be contacted at is on the Freedom Reigns. That's Freedom, REIGNS.US website. You can send me an email, and I will forward it on to Chris.
Contact Us tab.
Under the Contact Us tab. Like Chris said, we will do our best to keep your anonymity in this, if that's what you so desire. Drake, I'd like to go ahead, please, and let you and Teri continue on with a little bit more of what all has been happening, what we have done. I'm just watching this and I'm going, this all started just a few months ago as far as the people involved with the projects and what that have taken place. It's just astronomical, because it seems to me that from watching the progress of what y'all have done to current events of the day, such as all the quote-unquote resignations, this has all kind of taken place since you guys did the things that y'all did.
Go ahead, Teri.
Oh, Teri.
Am I back? Am I back on the mic?
You are on.
Okay, I got dropped off. I don't know. The weirdest thing keeps happening with my phone the last couple of days. All of a sudden, it just starts beeping and telling me it's busy.
Welcome to my world.
And so I had to switch phones and dial back in. So, what was that? What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Well, I was hoping that maybe you could share more of what the individuals who have been involved in the various projects have been doing. Because I noticed, these projects actually just started only a few months ago, and I've been watching and kind of following events of today and finding that, oh my gosh, since these people all started doing and going through these processes, the numbers of so-called resignations and all this other stuff has all started after you guys did the things that we're needing. I mean,
yeah, it basically mostly got really going on February 2nd, and whether you believe in coincidence or not, I don't, but some people do. Most of the massive resignations, code word arrest and detention, began to happen on February 2nd. And as Delanne calls it, she pointed it out, We threw a snowball, and it became an avalanche. And we're just one part of a very big plan. And our project was just one aspect of it. Although it was a very key and important aspect, the rest of the world was holding its breath, waiting for the people of America to finally get their heads out of their posteriors and stand up and realize what it is they need to do, or that there is even something needed to be done, and the rest of the world will follow suit. But America is the key, and the reason America is the key is that we were the one obstacle that always has been in the way of the achievement of global totalitarian control. There's no way they could ever achieve that unless they could collapse, conquer, and disarm America. So thank God we are who we are. We have woke up in time. We're not going to allow that to happen. And so now it's like the brakes have been put on, and you're hearing that screech as we burn the rubber and stick it in reverse. And
baby.
Yeah, start hitting the gas in reverse, and we go faster and faster as we gain momentum and spin around and go forward again. So that's the place that we're in right now, and that's why I say, if you think there's nothing happening, you are not looking outside your own front door. Turn that television set off. Fox is starting to leak some truth, a lot of it. The only one that's not is Bill O'Reilly. That could well be because Mr. Murdoch's hands are quite full with indictments and the prospect of trying to keep his own butt out of the fire, and his son has taken off and dumped everything in Daddy's lap. So, as they say, while the cat's away, the mice will play. So they're starting to tell the truth, but that's the only channel where you're going to maybe see some of it for a while.
CBS is doing a good job, too.
They're starting to. But
they supposedly broke from the cabal.
CNN, too.
Eventually, you'll begin to see real news and responsible journalism coming across your television sets in your living room. But right now, it's very hard to tell who's telling the truth and who isn't. I understand that. Most of it isn't. But you need to look beyond your door and your town and your state and your country. Look at the globe and realize we have to take the head of the beast out first. Because if you don't, if you just start cutting off those legs, they just grow back.
Yep.
You got to cut off the head. And that head is not on this side of the pond.
And if I can toss this in, the head of the beast has to be chopped, and we have to rebuild from the bottom up.
Exactly.
Project.
We do.
That's exactly
it
true.
all gets down to those central banks, the evil octopus.
Yeah.
Several of the central banks have been taken out in foreign countries very recently, and by taken out, I mean the entire staffs have been replaced with people they can trust. The reason being is that the government is on the hook, and they understand it now.
Also,
one of the reasons they understand it now is because of a combination of both the actions our small group has taken and the fact that there are 20, 30 other countries that have been bugging everybody about, hey, if they can do it, show us what we can do here. Now, you get a bunch of countries together that ain't going to take it anymore, and the war as such could be won very quickly. I urge everybody.
Well, they all know we're on their side now, and that we're doing something, Drake.
And some of these smaller countries are producing their own currency. Even the Germans are printing their own Deutschmark, but there are some currency presses all over the world which print currency for other countries, and they're supposedly working around the clock now. I don't know. I haven't gotten confirmation of that.
I heard the same thing on 3 different places.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I've got a couple of people that deal with the people you hear about in the news, heads of banks and things of that nature. They're kind of, I would call them independents, but they're not exactly independent. But they're not involved in the squirreliness that has caused our financial...
Squirreliness, I like that.
Well, watch a squirrel, especially during mating season when they chase each other around trees, you get the idea.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm seeing is that there is a general effort by most of the government entities to try to figure out how to return to something that's equitable for everybody. And the simplicity of it is that the general structure, as it is now, does not favor the people. Therefore, that general structure has to be altered to a point where it's at least a balance. And these are the things.
I have someone here on my end who's asking a question. Deatra, does anyone monitor your Facebook app for your radio site? They said you should be if you're not.
No, I am not on Facebook at all right now.
You're not, because this person is implying that there is a Facebook app for your radio site. Are you aware of it?
No.
You might want to check it out.
All right, let me ask him further. Continue. I'll break back in later.
Yeah, if they can bring me, if you guys can get me some links or whatever that I can follow on that. No, I did not know about that.
After the show.
I'm going to question him further right now.
After the show.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So anyway, to go along with all this fun and games and good news, I've been taking Wil's products, and boy, I tell you what, you want top of the line? He's got it.
Wow.
Amen. I'll attest to that.
So,
wow. Will, I'd like to hear from you. You're from Pennsylvania, and it was by accident that Pennsylvania figured out what was needed in order for all of this to get started. Maybe you could give us a little bit of background on that.
Well, is my mic live?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Well, over a year ago, there was a large group of us involved with the Tim Turner Rusa Cartoon Festival, and when we discovered the reality of that whole fraud, we stayed together as a body and left in mass, and continued on what we thought we should do, because we had confronted Turner and Peachy and several others directly. And why not? Why are things not getting done? And the same questions as a lot of the other assemblies had before they left. They were just getting the regular used car salesman runaround. Anyhow, so we left, and we have some very knowledgeable people in our group that discovered the civil authority, and it doesn't lie within the Constitution. That's basically for the government structure. They figured out that the Articles of Confederation was the last civil authority that we actually had in this country. So Article 2 states the sovereignty lies within the state, and so we took it upon ourselves to do what we did, and here we are today with 29 states on board, and a couple of Indian nations, and hopefully that that's a brief synopsis. But this is really, we were looking for all 50 states to join in union here in with this project, because the power that we have in the states that are involved. Some of them, like the ones in Idaho, and I just happen to know this because one of my responsibilities is communication and keeping track of who's doing what in the paperwork process. So I get to talk to a lot of these states personally. And in Idaho, gentlemen just called to check in last night to say that they're holding meetings every week to educate their local people about what's really going on and how the corporation has got its tentacles and everything to deceive us and to keep us in fear of this unrealistic so-called government that we have, which is really like a Walmart corporation. And the police are really employees like the Walmart greeter and the store shelf stackers.
Amen.
So we're basically being feared into believing a fraud on a national scale, and as soon as you take your attention away from that, they lose their power. All they have left is tactics like the gentleman Chris was talking about, where they're strong-arming everybody. I mean, there's a gentleman here. Mike, was that just here today, the guy with the stucco? Yeah. There was a guy here in eastern Pennsylvania that got arrested from the zoning officer, got the police to arrest him because he stuccoed his house instead of going with the mortgage and the construction loan was for siding. Well, he ran out of money, so he was a stuccoer, so he put the stucco on himself. He got arrested. The zoning officer got the police to arrest him.
Here's what it boils down to. There are certain issues which are too hot for even our mainline truthers, and I love all of them, Alex and Joyce and Butch and Dr. Stan, and I could go on. But there are issues which have been left to us to deal with locally, one of which is the zoning issue, the International Property Maintenance Code, the fact that our postal system is private and they actually can track and trace all mail, the fact that, very simply, we have done the nation-state problems, the fact that we have to rebuild locally. There are certain things that the Maine people will not deal with, and this is what's left up to us on the local level, and that's what Will's talking about. We're going to have to, this is top-down, is going to head to the hydro's gone, but we have to deal with this. This is going to be a long effort to come back to lawful government. Thank you, Will.
It's up to us.
Also, if I may say, Will, I find it very interesting that Pennsylvania, that your state of Pennsylvania, where our capital used to be, is the first state that acted upon the instructions in the Declaration of Independence. God bless you.
Well, we have a lot of educated people here because in our area of the state, anyhow, where I'm from, here, the sheriffs are not elected. They're appointed. One of the sheriffs just got fired here locally, and there's a whole big to-do just about that alone. Sheriffs here in this state, so a lot of the counties, like I said, they're not elected by the people. They're appointed by the counties. They're employees just like the police department. So they're trying to do away with anything that's private, constitutional, or common law. What's that?
Anything that comes from the people.
Right, because you cannot have a controlled society when you have healthy, free-thinking, educated, and non-fearful individuals. Mm-hmm. And just look at things in a whole. I mean, most of my research is in the medical aspect of it. It's the same corporations that are controlling medicine in this country. That's allopathic or natural. They're the same corporations with the same mind frame that's controlling the government, the police department. It's the same. So if you're going to listen to the medical field to eat what they tell you, then you're going to suffer from a degenerated health state, so you're going to have to go to them, and you're going to be a good sheeple and follow along. So it's a whole other reality where I live, because I don't get involved with any of that. I've taken myself out of that system for the most part. I still function. I still have some issues being stopped without a driver's license. You still got that hassle to go through. But I'm trying to live what I preach in common law as well as in the medical type of in the health industry.
And the goal of all of this is to steal land and kill people. Now, if you can't get that far with this, it's a hard pill to swallow. I've had a hard time with it all my life. But the agenda is to steal land and kill people. I'm sorry if that's too much for you, but that's a plain, pure, raw truth.
Yeah, they want all the land, and they want to reduce humanity to automaton robotic servants for the handful of self-appointed elite. And in order to do that, they've got to reduce the Earth's population from 7 billion to no more than 500 million. It's written on the Georgia Guidestones, and they're much more than pretty rocks. So you figure, what does that mean? That means 6.5 billion people simply have to go.
And what it is government by farce is opposed by force. We are the true force of government when we stand up and assume the position, not the position they put us in.
And they put it right out there in your face, too, and people don't even see it. The guidestones in Georgia.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not just pretty rocks, folks.
Welcome back, Freedomizers. Yatra with Freedom Reigns. And we have an array of callers today. We've had Drake and Teri that have been discussing the various projects they have been working on with, in a lot of different aspects, mostly pertaining to taking back our great nation. And then, of course, we have Wil Spencer, who has also been with us. And, Will, I know that this is a little bit on the off-topic side, but this is normally your day to be with us. And so I'd like to let you go ahead and bring in a little bit more regarding our health and wellness and the ill intention of the allopathic medical field. I mean, it's just all of this ties in.
Well, I believe it is because they're all related. They're all corporations. You have the EPA, the FDA, the AMA, and all the other alphabet soup agencies, all enforcing basically pharmaceutical, agriculture, industrial policies.
It's the FDA corporation, the AMA corporation, the EPA
right.
corporation.
They're all listed in Dun & Bradstreet's as a corporation, for-profit industry, posing as something they're not, which that's a fraud. And by definition, you can take them to task in federal court, just like they're doing to Monsanto. There's class actions lawsuits right now going on all over the world. I've got friends in Europe that are actually getting these corporations like Monsanto, Bayer, Ciba-Geigen, and these other pesticide pharmaceutical companies kicked out of their country.
Yeah, it's not just
them.
scumbucket debt collectors that are getting sued.
No, these corporations are getting sued. And the only reason why, and this is just my opinion, the only reason why this country is not being so proactive is because it's been an all-out onslaught of strategic placement to keep the people dumb, to keep them busy watching the ball games, drinking their fluoride. What?
Drugged up.
Drugged up on pharmaceuticals. Most clients, like I got a couple calls just in the last couple days of new clients after they've been down the cancer, chemotherapy, radiation route, then they got surgeries, and then they're on now, all of a sudden, they're on 11 or 12 different pharmaceuticals with no intention of getting any better. They want to come out of that world now because they're finally waking up to the fact that they're being destroyed.
You spent about an hour on the telephone with a lady who has been chopped to pieces since she was a young girl. Thank you, Will.
You're welcome, and that's unfortunately that's who mostly we get to talk to here. Is they don't choose our methods first because of the brainwashing in this country. They go down the Dr. God route, and then when they run out of money and they're running out of patients because they're really not getting any better, then they start looking to alternatives.
And they're dying.
And they're dying. They don't have any money, and their life is in shambles, and then they want to go otherwhere, to the alternate world.
And they're going to be allowed to die because everything that could be squeezed out of them in a monetary fashion has been done.
Mm-hmm.
I think from now on we need to refer to these people as the EPA company, the EPA corporation, the FBI company. I think we need to start doing this on the local level. Every time you say an alphabet agency, say corporation, Republican Party corporation, we need to start speaking the
corporation. Senate corporation.
Corporation.
You need to do it with the hospitals as well as the doctors. That's all a for-profit company. It's all about bottom line. It's not about health and humanity.
And individually they are as well.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, I'm a for-profit business, and I'll be the first one to admit I'm doing this by myself. I am, and this is a business for me, but yet I'm in a spot because nobody's footing the bill for me. I have to sell something in order to stay alive. But
you're actually trying to offer a product that's going to keep people alive and not just camouflage their symptoms of the real problem when they really don't want to help them with the real problem because they wouldn't make any money if they did.
There's nothing wrong with profit. There's something very wrong with killing people for money.
Mm-hmm. That's rightful earned profit, Will. That's different.
Well, it is, but unfortunately, the people like me, get lumped into a spot, and then there's no category out there that's for what I do, really.
How about the good guy helping the good guy instead of the bad guy trying to kill the good guy?
We have a question in the chat room, guys, for Will.
Yep. Go ahead.
Will, the question is, how can we get to know more about your products and your health plan?
Well, I have a website right now. It's mostly there. It's bodyelectrician.com. We've just had to fire our web guy, so he was not performing to his contract, so things haven't got completed, but that's the start. Another thing is just go to Google and just Google Wil Spencer and naturopath, and there's probably 30 shows like this or more, and other articles and things where I've been posting information for years trying and attempting to help people.
And how do you spell your name, Will? W-I-L, right? Not W-I-L-L.
Yeah,
W-I-L.
just one L. W-I-L-S-P-E-N-C-E-R, Wil Spencer, and naturopath, and read away. Until I get more on the more information on the web, that's all I have right now.
All right. Well, Will, we can, if you would like, I can try and help you with the site. I mean, I don't have a whole heck of a lot of time with everything else we're doing, but I don't mind helping. You've seen what I put together for Freedom Reigns.
Right.
So, just let me know.
I'm lumped into the category of alternate complementary natural health care because but yet we don't look at things like most naturopaths. I don't do the symptom relief type of mentality. If you have this, you take this. I don't look at things like that. Basically, we have only a couple of problems on this planet. One is toxic overload. Two is a malnutrition state, and that means anybody that's eating on this planet right now and breathing the air. And with those two issues alone, you get rid of the toxic overload and you get the gut to start working and actually feed yourself things that actually are food. Most everything else goes away. Then you just have to manage some symptoms as they come up. And that's really the simplicity of how we work.
And people can actually go back
to
some of our people can go back and listen to some of our earlier Thursday programs that we've had you on there, Will. As we said, you are on every other Thursday. There's another chat room. Another chat room question. And they're asking about fungus in our bodies.
Well, it's rampant as far as I know, and it's there mostly because it's supposed to be there in a toxic environment and a degenerated state of health. If you have a fungal problem, it's basically nature trying to recycle you because you're unhealthy. Just like in the forest, as the trees begin to die, they're still alive, but the fungus starts to grow on them because we, as an organism, give off a pheromone or a frequency that attracts all these other pathogens to us because by nature standards, we're unable to be there. We're not healthy anymore, so in nature, what happens to something that's not healthy? It slowly dies and needs to be recycled back into the environment again to become food for another generation of something else.
Will, we have people also asking in the chat room about your book that's coming out.
It's at the publishers right now. Funny you would ask, because I just talked to the publisher last night. I'm sorry for laughing. But I address in that book pretty much fungus and the issues on what to do about it, why it's there, and how to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. Because it is an epidemic, and over 15 years, I haven't met anybody that doesn't have some level of fungus problem.
It's just one of the ways the corporation is trying to reduce the population is by purposely introducing bad things into our body through food, through medicine, shots, you name it.
Yeah, chemtrails.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Vaccines.
Well, Will, what is the name of your book so our listeners can keep an eye out for it? And, of course, we'll be announcing it more through our shows.
Yeah, sure. I always get that title screwed up. I have to go and actually look at it because it's kind of long.
Yeah, it is a long title, but you'll have it available through your website, and I'll also be posting it on the Freedom Reigns website. So,
and on my blog.
Yep, and on Teri's blog, and
on my Facebook page.
All right, just hold on here. I'll get the whole title here for you.
Okay. We're getting closer to the end of the hour. I'd like to let Drake kind of wrap up while you're looking for that. I do want to make a statement that we've had a lot of people emailing as a result of the last couple of shows we've done with Drake, making the assumption or questioning whether or not we are a part of the Tim Turner /Rusa, and I just want to clarify that we are in no way affiliated with Tim Turner or his group.
Or Keep Living Way or any of the others.
Right, and that is not to say that we were not at one time involved, but we have all seen the truth. Well, some of us, yes. We have learned the truth. We have actually been exposing them for who and what they are. And you can actually find links to 4 shows we've already done on the Freedom Reigns website under Rusa Exposed in our featured shows. So I just wanted to bring that out and make that very, very clear.
Very good.
Will, you have found the name of your book.
It's The Underlying Cause of the Unconscious Conspiracy Against Our Health.
By F. Wil Spencer.
By Wil Spencer, yeah.
Oh, yeah, by Wil Spencer.
Right, yes, definitely.
And his ghostwriter, Deland.
Oh, yes. And Teri, somebody is asking for your blog address.
Restored USA, that's all one word. Restored as in past tense, USA.blogspot.com.
Okay. If you want to go ahead and repeat that really quick. Now, let me see, Teri, somebody is asking if we finished our latest update on the exposure on Tim Turner, and that will be coming up on April the 14th.
I thought that was 15th.
Or 15th, yeah, that's right, tax day. How coincidental. Anyway,
if we even
that was not planned, by the way, but how apropos.
Now we may get lucky and not have to file, huh?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? We can keep watching.
That would be nice.
Hoping. Yep, we can keep watching and hoping. We're down to about 27 minutes, and I'd like Will for the next maybe 10 or so to go ahead and just put in whatever he feels is important. As I said, this is technically his day to speak. but it was very important also for Drake and Teri to make clarifications regarding, what the misconceptions and misunderstandings of people. And at the end there, the last 10 minutes, Drake, I want to have you just kind of give a wrap-up.
Okay.
So, Will, you're up, honey.
Well, I'd just like to reiterate some things regarding this whole corporate entity that has got its tentacles in pretty much everybody's, not only their pockets, but their hearts and their health.
Brains.
Their brains.
Yeah.
Right. The corporate pharmaceutical medicine has worked its way into the natural health industry since the 70s. The science has proven most of this, but you'll never see this science because it won't make any money for anybody because it's just exposing truth. Allopathic medicine knows if you take too much fish oil, flaxseed oil, too much vitamin C, and the list is quite long of natural elements, you will eventually have kidney problems or heart problems or some other problems where you're going to have to go to the hospital for some kind of procedure because natural health does not have remedy for things in that extreme. And this stuff has been put out there in books like ICD-999 by Patrick Jordan. Back in 2009, he laid this out, but the book was published early in the year, and that summer it was banned in this country. So you can no longer get that book in this country. So the information has been suppressed, and I have friends that in the natural health business that's tried to expose a lot of this without referring back to the actual data like in ICD-999 and get hassled. The FDA, the EPA, the AMA, all these other enforcement arms of corporations enforcing other corporations have SWAT teams and preventive measures to combat the truth. And when certain information gets out, just for instance, like Bloodroot right now is being on the warfare of the FDA and the I can't think of the other agency right now, but anyhow,
corporation.
The corporation does not like these natural things like Bloodroot or like sodium chloride, chlorine dioxide, or some of these things that actually work. That's why old man Gerson actually went to old Mexico to build his clinic because he got run out of his country. That's why Jim Humble is down in Dominican Republic because he didn't want to die, so he left the country. That's why some other people are, they leave the country because they value their life because the corporations and their strong-arming come in and try to stop them.
Yeah, if I can chip this in, they whacked Gerson in 59 after trying to whack him in 57. Another situation is it's illegal in 48 out of 50 states to treat cancer with anything but chemo, radiation, and surgery.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And nowadays, there's so many good things out there in the alternate complementary health care that actually works, but we got our hands tied to some extent. That's why my website and most of the information is fairly bland that I put out there, because just like a couple of my microbiologist friends that have lost their life trying to publish the truth,
yep.
They had mysterious heart attacks in their laboratories, ended up burning the week after they had this mysterious death.
But you keep on trucking. How do you keep going, Will? That's what I'd like to know.
I don't know. I believe it's just divinely inspired. I'm doing my thing, and I'm not really scared of them. They can do what they want. I'm going to do what I do, and if I feel it a responsibility to share, and I've also taken time to structure myself and my life in a way that they don't have jurisdiction over me.
Well,
I was
would
looking.
That I used to get sick several times a year out of nowhere, and then I did this 5-day cleanse program to get the toxins out of my body, and I have not been sick since, and that's been a couple years.
I was just reading a list that I really want to share, and this is so important. One of the most dangerous, toxic, and permanent damage substances that is in your everyday life without you even knowing it, having been put there on purpose, is aspartame. And I would like to read to you the 10 top sources of aspartame. And many of you people out there don't even realize you're ingesting it. Tabletop sweeteners, chewing gum, flavored water, sugar-free products, drink powders, cooking sauces, children's medicines, cereals, yogurts, and diet sodas. Aspartame alone is responsible for sterilizing you, if you're a young woman, birth defects, and permanent DNA damage if a child is born while you're ingesting aspartame, and will leave that child's future open to disaster for future generations. This is insidious, and it is all around you.
And it's real.
Those are the top 10 sources.
Aspartame is not the only one that you're unaware of. The other one is monosodium glutamate, MSG.
Yes.
They have loosened the label requirements that now, if you look at the label and it says spices, natural spices, soy protein, and there's a list of about 80 different names for monosodium glutamate, and it's a neurotoxin. It basically causes an addiction, so then you eat that food some more. Like right now, Starbucks coffee, all of it has MSG in it as a flavor enhancer, so you get it addicted basically to the Starbucks coffee.
No.
Well, and with the aspartame, there was a study that shows that it affects 75% of all women, females, very adversely. And the way you can notice it right off is it causes behavior that most people would call PMS on steroids, And my daughter tends to be that way naturally. And when she was in high school, she always drank diet Mountain Dew. And when I discovered the aspartame, and I barred her from it. I stopped the ingestion of this particular liquid, and her behavior changed almost overnight when I barred the access to the aspartame.
Oh my God!
It has a biochemical effect, and actually is at the root of a lot of cancer tumors and a lot of cysts, like ovarian cysts. And it builds up in the body until the body, can't figure out what to do with it. It just packs it in and forms a cocoon around it, and then we have a growth. And then if it gets
it's better to drink regular soda than diet soda, right?
Yeah.
No, soda. Period. I mean, they got.
Well, you shouldn't drink it at all.
You shouldn't drink it at all. They got a thing right now. The caramel coloring is carcinogenic. They were they, meaning the industry, was in the process of forcing all soda pop manufacturers that use caramel coloring to label their product that caramel coloring is a carcinogenic or causes cancer. You shouldn't be drinking that crap at all. It's full of all kinds of toxins. I mean, I could talk an hour.
Well, thank God I don't drink a lot of soda.
Well, I'm gonna throw one in there. Y'all missing the real fun one. And that is that Coca-Cola started out as an engine degreaser.
Yep.
Well, if you like your Drano flavored and sweetened, there you go. I mean, that ought to be something.
And I understand it had cocaine in it originally, too.
Well, you got to make it addictive. I mean, why not, if you're going to sell something, why not, make it the best you can. Catch the wave. Woohoo.
It makes the best bug remover for your windshield is just shake up a Coke and spray it on your window. It eats the bugs off in no time.
Well, and then stop and think.
I love you, Will.
Stop and think about cigarettes, okay? The tobacco industry. It's not the cigarettes that are causing you cancer. It's the carcinogens they're putting in it. Then the Native Americans were smoking tobacco for I don't know how many hundreds of years, and you didn't see them dropping like flies from lung cancer, but they didn't have big tobacco industries deliberately putting chemicals in there to make the cigarette burn longer, last longer, addict you, and so on and so forth.
Now, I was wondering about that. Now, don't chew me out now, because I'm not going to quit smoking, but I smoke an all-natural cigarette that says there's no additives involved.
In some cases, that's true. Now, here's the other part. Each and every last one of the tobacco manufacturers, other than those that claim to be organic, have what's called fire retardant in it. That's so that you cannot be a terrorist and use the cigarette, as you've seen in the movies, for a fuse.
That's right.
Yeah,
You set
exactly.
it down in the ashtray, now it goes out, it doesn't burn up.
Exactly.
My dad
and that's exactly what's going on. So, I go out here and puff on cigarettes and just enjoy myself. And, I figure if I smoke enough of them, and I won't have to worry about forest fires or anything.
My dad was a world-class chemist, and he quit smoking commercial cigarettes in the 50s.
Right. Okay, we are down to just a few minutes. I want to let Drake go ahead and tell everybody what is, give kind of the summarization and what before we have to end here. Drake, you've got about 10.5 minutes.
I don't know that I can talk that long about all this. Pretty much basically what's been accomplished is that the basis of what we put out on the show has gone viral. So in terms of everybody waiting for word for the things to go viral, I think the Internet took care of that already.
Pretty much.
So the other part of it is that the crux of what we put on this show from any team member has been proven and or can be to be accurate and truthful. The difference between, and I'm going to stress this, your freedom philosophers, and that's the people that know some but don't know near what they should, the people who would object to the ideology of what we have already accomplished, need to do a couple of things. One is you need to find out what you're doing before you do it. That's first. Number two, you need to do it in a correct manner. Now, that can be anything from court procedure to not getting in trouble in the first place. I do not recommend anybody taking bits and pieces of the resistance idea and applying it to themselves at this point for several reasons. One is you got to prove it each and every time, each and every incident. I suggest that everybody get on the bandwagon of what we have done, which addresses the core and the basis of the problem, so that we can do away with these inconveniences of driver's licenses and all this other happy stuff that the government decided they wanted to charge us for, which is a basic right to travel, among other things. Anybody who finds themselves in a position where they are required to sign anything, I strongly recommend that you put above or next to your signature reservation of rights. There's a lot of people that will object to that. That's not my problem. You don't want to do it, don't do it. What that simplistic little phrase means is that any portion of any kind, of any contract, of anything you sign that is not explained to you does not apply. Just that simple. It's a very simple way to help protect yourself. The other part of it is to learn what your standing is in terms of the courts and their procedures and the difference between courts. There is a difference. There's also a difference between charges. When you understand these things, then you can operate a lot more freely. Other than that, For the average person who does not want to have a whole load of problems, I suggest that you go ahead and get legal. There's a variety of things being required. One of those is called Sure ID. Sure ID is where they make you bring a utility bill or something of this nature in before they will give you a driver's license or service you at a license branch. It's not a bad idea in some ways. Even though the government's tracking you and all this other happy whatever, I'm going to express this just once. There are square miles of mainframe computers that are hooked to each and every last thing you do.
Yep.
The reason for this is so that they can better market to you. Anybody that sells anything or provides a service has information on you. This information is so intricate that they know when you come in the house if you put your keys on the table or not. They know what color underwear you got. They know what you eat, what you watch on TV, what kind of appliances, what sort of car, what sort of brand names you appreciate more than others, what kind of dishes you got. I mean, it goes on and on and on. They can tell you all of these things. Privacy died about 10 years ago.
Yep.
So what you have to remember is they already know. And believe me, it's much easier not having to fight the system when you've got a clean driver's license. And most people I know of who are serious about freedom have a tendency to take the responsibility of that and not have a tendency to cause problems by doing things they shouldn't be doing.
Yep.
This basically is the right to with the responsibility of what you're doing. You don't hurt anybody, you don't cause problems, and you don't damage property. Pretty simple.
Yeah, I would say that is.
So if you apply anything to your life, you're getting ready to think about doing something, you want to apply to it what's called common law. Get on the Internet and look it up. It's not difficult to find. It is English-based in some ways. It's also ecclesiastically based. And it's also canon-based. There's a whole bunch of little curves and twists and whatnot that are involved in it. The manner in which we took care of our legal notification process among the varying states goes back past each and every last law known to the very basis of it. And this is the reason that you do not have any challenge, and the reason that the people who were aware in Europe where the paperwork went suddenly decided when that paperwork hit, oh my goodness, we are in trouble. Now, the other part of this is that is only the first layer of the onion. You got one more layer to peel before you get to the core. And it's not going to be something that everybody's going to expect. There are a lot more dirty people in terms of one form or another of dirt than there are clean ones. There's also a majority of controls, and it doesn't matter where that control comes from or the mechanism used to make it. What matters is you got a whole load of controls in favor of making legislation. There's a thing called ALEC, and this is where the Homeland Security Act came from. It was already written long before the incident. They estimate 2 years. I don't know about Alec's records, whether they, can be unwound and found, but a bunch of lawyers, primarily corporate lawyers, but also criminal and civil, have gotten together as a group, and they pre-write legislation, laws, and all manner of regulation. So we've got a tremendous, and I mean a tremendous amount of work as people, just everyday people, to do in order to take care of a whole lot of this stuff. The people that are farmers, the people that work way too much, you go ahead and do what you got to do. There's plenty of other ones out there that can fill the bill to an extent, but you might, if you're a farmer or you're a worker or you're working way too much or you're under extraordinary duress at the job you've got, start making a list of things, because all of this stuff is going to be unwound, and it's going to be corrected, each and every last little bit of it. This is extraordinary work. So, you know, everybody needs to be prepared. Volunteers are going to be needed and all that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to actually, and I haven't even discussed it with anybody, but we've got a lot of response on what can we do, how can we help, yada, yada, yada. So what I'm going to do is anyone who wants to get involved in their local area and learn different ways they can help, I'm going to set up a conference call for everybody who's interested that would like to learn more, that they can join in on. I will post that up on our website at freedomreigns.us, and that way we can kind of address all the people at one time. So if you would send an email to me at freedomreigns.us, you can find my contact information. I'll be happy to post the phone number as well as the date and time of this particular conference call. We're out of time here just about, so I'd kind of like to let everybody know we will be back on Sunday from 6 to 9 Eastern Time, and we will be doing a follow-up with Amy Sharon, whose child was abducted by the state of Texas with the assistance of Governor Rick Perry, and she will be on with us Sunday coming up, and she is ready to name names and just really throw everything out there on the table. That is on Sunday. Does anybody have our schedule pulled up for next Thursday?
Oh, I'm looking fast. Boy, am I looking fast this time. Okay. We have Pay It Forward follow-up is what I have written here.
Okay, we changed that. I will have to check it out.
Oh, boy. I'm sorry.
Put in there. I believe we put Allie in there.
Yeah.
So we'll be focusing a little bit on the county project, addressing situations with our farmers and such.
And we'll be updating the county project, too. So we need to update that a little bit for bullet points for activists.
Yes, we do. So, anyways, Drake, I want to thank you very much for coming on and clearing up a lot of the misconceptions, misunderstandings, whatever. Teri, you too. You guys are great at helping to keep us on track and keep our credibility and staying on top of things so that we do things properly and correctly, and we're not we're bringing the truth forward as best as we all know how and are able to do, and I can't thank you all enough. And Will, you've been a major blessing in my family, I can say that. And I'm really excited, and we will pick up with you again on your regular Thursday. But you're always welcome to join in any other calls. Chris and I will also try and join in with Joanne Moretti, who is on at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and that is Pacific time, to do a follow-up with the false arrest of an elderly man and the brutality that he was committed. Again, that will be with Joanne Moretti at 3 o'clock Central. With that, I'd like to say thank you, everybody. God bless, and we're here to serve you.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.